has already been started, okay, you have to identify what that series is. Okay? You have to focus. Okay? One thing that's going to change about these ones, guys, they won't always use primes. Okay? So it wants to map, if you read in here, it says describe the sequence of rigid motions or congruent transformations, okay, that maps triangle QRS to triangle TUV. So which triangle do we start with? QRS. This is the first triangle. How do I know which letter is going to map to T? Okay, if T is listed first, what's the first letter listed over here? Q. Okay, they're going to be listed the way that they are going to match. So Q and T are going to map together. What's R going to map to? U, because that's the one that's second listed. What's S going to map to? V. You need to look at the corresponding letters. So if I look at Q on this triangle, what letter do I want to look at from there? I want to look at T. Okay? First of all, this shape is a little bit easier to tell. Has this been reflected or rotated?
Reflected.
Okay, does everyone see how this is a reflection because it actually flips? It doesn't just turn. Do you see that? This is where it helps to know that a reflection is a flip, okay, and a rotation is a turn. Okay, so I know that I'm going to be reflecting. Does anybody know the line of reflection?
The y-axis.
No, X3.
Okay, so we know that we're reflecting because our shape flips. So if you want to write this in, we are reflecting because our shape flips. Okay, but we need to figure out our line of reflection. Okay, we need to figure out our line of reflection. Okay, guys, side conversations need to stop, please. This is important, and it's going to be difficult. I don't want you asking questions later because you chose not to pay attention. Okay, so we're reflecting. Again, you said x equals 3.
Yeah.
Okay, is it halfway in between x equals 3 if I draw on this line? Okay, as I look, could I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I would get towards the same point as this one, right? So that is going to be my line of reflection. It's going to be x equals 3. Why is it x equals 3 and not y equals 3? At every point for y, x is always what? 3. Okay? No matter what y equals, x is always 3. All right, so I'm reflecting over the line x equals 3. Then what do I have to do? So if I reflected q over this line, where would it end up?
0,
0, 3. Does everyone see if I reflect across the line x equals 3, it would end up at 0, 3? How do I get that point then to go down to t?
Translate down.
Okay, I have to translate. And where do I translate it? I go down 1, 2, 3. If I do that, do I get to t?
Yes.
Does it make sense how you're going to do this today? You're trying to figure out what gets me from point A to B. Okay, what gives me to point Q to T in this case. Does that make sense? All right, double check yourself, guys. Look at the rest of these points. If I go to point R, what point should I go to on the other triangle? What should R map to?
U.
R's in the middle, U is also in the middle, so I have to map to U. Okay, if I reflect R across the line x equals 3, how far away is it from that line? 5, so I have to go 5 past, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd end up with this point, R prime. Okay, how would I get to U?
3.
Do I go down 3? If I go down 3, do I make it to that point? Yep. Okay, what's going on, Ernest?
That's fine. It's just you're like picture there's so many dots. Like, I don't know. Just,
Okay, so all I'm doing,
I thought my papers just kind of.
does it make sense though?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Okay, so how would I write this final answer as a series of transformations? I would say reflect over x equals 3, then translate down 3. This is how I would write my final answer. Reflect over the line x equals 3, or reflect over x equals 3, then translate down 3. Okay, questions on that first example that we had to figure out what the series was? Okay, the first one where we had to figure out what the series was itself. The first one we actually graphed the series. We're just figuring out the series on this one.
Are we gonna have to do both of those?
Okay, flip to the back side. Flip to the back side. Okay, first thing you need to check, guys. I need to know which one I start with and which one I go to, right? Okay? If I have A, B, C, D, and I want to go to H, I, J, K, which point is going to map to A? H, okay? Because those are both listed first. So A is going to map to H. Carter, go sit down. On my desk. Okay. All right. As I look at this, if I go from point A to point H, okay, if I go from point A to point H, does it look like I am going to be turning my figure? Or does it look like I am going to be reflecting my figure? Does everyone see how it looks like I'm just going to be turning this down? Okay. If I reflect this, this would still be going up and down, correct? Okay. So I'm probably going to be turning it. How far am I going to turn it?
90 degrees.
I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. Do you agree? Okay. I want to get it up into this quadrant. Then I have to do another transformation. Does that make sense? Okay. So I wouldn't want to rotate it too, because that would end up with my A point way down here somewhere, right? I want it to be up here, so I need to rotate it just 190-degree angle. Okay? So do you see how it's turning? You can tell it needs to do a rotation. You just have to decide which rotation you need. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so we have to rotate. And again, how far do we have to rotate this one, guys? 90 degrees. Okay, what's our rotation rule for 90 degrees? So xy is going to become what? Okay, negative y, comma x. Okay, negative y, comma x. What was my coordinate for A? Okay, so if you look, 3, 2 is my coordinate for A. What is my coordinate going to be for A prime? Okay, negative 2, 3. Questions on how I got negative 2, 3? Okay, questions on this first step, guys? All right, so I'm going to plot my A prime. Negative 2, up 1, 2, 3. Okay, negative 2, 3. This is my A prime. Okay, I'm going to do B as well just to make sure that this is where it's going to go. Okay, so B was at what ordered pair before? Okay, 5, comma 2. So what is my ordered pair going to be for B prime?
Negative 2, 5.
Negative 2, 5. Okay, so I want to go left 2, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be B prime. Okay, everyone see how we're rotating this 90 degrees? Okay, go ahead and rotate C and D for me, please. Practice rotating. Rotate C and D for me, please. Okay, so CJ, we learned these rules on Friday, so go ahead and copy down that first rule. Rotate 90, XY is going to become negative YX. Yep, so rotating 90 is XY is going to become negative YX. Do you see that? Okay, so if my original XY was 3, 2, okay, copy that down. 3, 2 was my original XY. That was my original ordered pair. What's the ordered pair going to be after I rotated 90 using this rule? So my X is now what value? It's going to be negative 2, right? It's the opposite, that negative in front of my Y. See the negative in front of my Y?
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be negative 2, comma what?
3.
Yep. So then it returns to negative 2, comma 3. Does it make sense how each of my signs are changing? I don't know. So you just have to find the coordinates and rotate it using this rule. So you keep doing that. So you keep it as negative 2, 3, and you're going to plot that new point as A prime. What do you mean? Yeah, but it's just telling you how it switches from the original point. So if I rotate this A 90 degrees, 3, 2 changes to negative 2, 3. So I'm going to plot that point, negative 2, 3. Okay, so that's plotting your 90-degree rotation. So go ahead and plot it. All right, back to me in 3. Back to me in 2. Back to me in 1. Okay, where is C prime going to end up? Okay, where is C prime going to end up, guys? Negative 7, 5. Okay, where is D prime going to end up? Negative 7, 3. Okay, once you have that, connect all your points. Okay, once you have that, connect all your points. Now, I want A to match to which letter? H. Okay, what letter do I want B to match to? I. You see how B is actually down here now? Okay, then I want C prime to match to which one? C matches to J. So C is up here on top, but then it's down here, right? Okay. And then D prime is going to match to which one? D matches to K. D is on the bottom of my rectangle here, and now it's going to be at the top of my rectangle down here. How does that work? Does everyone see how I flipped it? Okay, my A and D were originally on the bottom, now they're on the top. Do you see that? Okay, if I... Whoa. You want to see it again? Okay, so A matches to which letter, Ernest? H. Do you see how A was originally the bottom side of this rectangle here? And now H is on the top side? Okay, and then D is going to match to which letter? Okay, if you look, D is on the bottom, K is on the top, right? Do you see how I'm flipping the sides? Okay, so if I'm flipping, what am I doing? Which one is a flip? Reflect. Okay, which line am I going to reflect over?
It's gonna be a half.
Okay,
It's not even.
okay. Shh. Am I going to get directly to this point if I reflect over any line? No, what am I going to end up having to do? Okay, I'm going to have to translate as well. So what line would you guys flip?
Go to the right.
Okay, do you want to try translating first?
I gotta go one down, one right.
One
then
down, one
translate.
right.
Then
Then
you
you
have
have
to
to reflect
flip
it.
it.
Reflected over what?
Y equals 1.
Yeah.
Y equals 1. Okay, you could do that. There's also more that you could do. Okay, there's no specific way that you do this. Okay, there could be more than one way that you could do this. I could translate down 2 to the right 1 and reflect across the x-axis if I wanted to. Okay, it's up to you what you want to do. Does that make sense? Okay, I would recommend doing what you guys said, so I want to be able to reflect over this line of reflection. Okay, so where do I need to move this shape in order to get A to line up to H? Where do I need my point to be for A to reflect over this line and get H?
Down one, then one to the right.
Would you agree I need A to be right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to move A prime down 1 and to the right 1, correct? So I'm going to translate down 1 and then to the right 1. Questions on why I have to do that? Down 1 to the right 1. Once my point is there, so once I move all these down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1, okay? Can I reflect across this line and get all the right points? Yes, okay, so I'm reflecting across which line?
Y equals 1.
Reflect.
Okay? You should be able to check that. If I reflect each point across y equals 1, it should only be 1 away for those two, and then up here it's going to be 1, 2, 3 away. 1, 2, 3 away. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3 away. I should get all those points. Check all of your points, guys. Don't just do one. You have to look at all of them because it has to work for all. Okay? So, we rotated how many?
3 times.
We rotated how many degrees?
90.
90. Then we translated where?
Translated one to the right one.
Down 1 to the right 1. Then we reflected where?
To the y.
Y equals 1. Does the order matter?
No. No. Yes.
Okay, could I reflect, okay, excuse me. Shh. Could I reflect this original rectangle across the line x equals 1 and get this one? By going down 1 to the right 1?
Yeah, then you just go up.
Okay, I would have had to go a different direction, translate, right? So the order does matter. I need to translate before I reflect. Okay, that's not always going to be that way. You could reflect before you translate. It's just you have to go with what works with the shape you're working with. Does that make sense? That's why this is difficult. You have to visualize it. Is it turning? Is it flipping? Is it moving? Okay? It's hard to visualize. That's what makes this difficult. Okay? Are there questions on this second example? This is probably the hardest example you'll work with today. Questions? Okay, let's look at the next one. Now, if I go from P, which one is going to match to P?
P prime.
P prime. Does this look like I'm flipping, turning, or moving?
Rotating.
Okay. Does it look like I'm flipping or turning?
Turning.
Okay, you guys say turn.
Rotating.
Okay.
180.
How much did I rotate again?
180.
180. If I rotate 180, what's going to happen with my x and my y coordinate?
They are opposite.
They're opposite. So if my x was 2, my y was 1, this is now going to be -2, -1, correct? Okay, so plot that point. Where's -2, -1? Am I quite to P prime yet? Where do I have to go still? Okay, so you notice that you had to turn it, right? I had to rotate it 180 degrees. Okay, so list that. Rotate 180. What's my rule for rotating 180 degrees? X, Y is going to become -x, -y. So my P was 2, 1, so my P prime is going to be -2, -1. Okay? So far, does everyone understand how I got this point? From here, how do I get from that point to P prime?
You go down 1.
So I'm going to translate where?
Down 1.
Okay? If I do that with each point, so if I go from 4, 1, where would my R prime be after my rotation? If I start with 4, 1, where would my R prime be after rotation of 180? -4, -1. Now where do I go? I have to go down 1 to get to R prime, correct? Okay, does it work for Q as well?
Yeah.
It should, okay? Q is at 4, 6. What's it going to be after my 180 degree rotation? -4, -6. So if I go -4, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then if I translate down 1, do I get to Q prime? Yep. Okay, so this is going to be my series. Are there any questions on identifying the series of rotation? All right, let's go ahead and look at Aaron, turn around, please. Okay, on this next one, part A says, which figure is the image of figure S? What does image mean?
After.
After the transformation. What would have been before the transformation? Pre-image. The word pre means before. Okay, so which is the figure image of figure S after a reflection across the x-axis and a translation of 2 units right? Okay, so I want S to be my image. I need to figure out what my pre-image would be. So which letter would be my pre-image of this? Okay. Or sorry, this is the pre-image. I need to figure out the image of this figure after a reflection across the x-axis and a translation of 2 units right. Okay? So if I reflect this image, what's it going to do to it?
Flip it.
Flip it, and if I'm reflecting over the x, which way is it flipping it? Okay, my x is down here, so it's going to flip it down. Okay, so originally my bottom side is now my top side. My top side is now my bottom side, correct? Okay, so imagine that. I'm going to flip it down. Okay, I'm going to flip it down, and then I'm going to move it 2 units right. What letter would I end up with getting it 2 units right? Does everyone see how A is going to be W? Questions? All right. Look at point B. I want you to look at that one by yourself. Okay, which figure can be transformed into figure Y? So Y is where I end this time. Okay, this is where I end. This is my image this time. I'm looking for my pre-image. Okay, whichever one I rotated 90 degrees about the origin and then translated 10 units right and 3 units down, and that's how I got to Y. Does that make sense? Okay, so which letter did I have to rotate 90 degrees and then translate 10 units right, 3 units down in order to get to Y? Okay, let's look at it. Okay, shh. Let's look at it. If I have to move 10 units, just wait. Eyes up here, please. Okay, it's asking me to translate 10 units right, 3 units down to get to Y, correct? Okay, so let's go 10 units left and 3 units up and see what shape is there. Would you agree? Okay, so from this point, if I go 10 units left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and 3 units up. Oh, let's see here. Shh, guys. Just wait. Okay. Shh. The last thing that I did was I went 10 units right and 3 units down. So I'm going to go 10 units left. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3. Okay, look at image Y. This is how I did it. Shh. Look at image Y. Which way is it facing? Okay. Would you agree this small portion is facing this direction?
Yes.
If I was going to rotate this clockwise 90 degrees, so do the opposite of what they did, where would this little portion end up? If I turned it 90 degrees clockwise, it's going to end up at the top, right? Okay, so after that rotation, I need that little piece to be at the top. Okay, which image, okay, out of all these letters, looks like this little small part's going to be at the top? Okay, let's check it. Okay, you may have a hunch, but you always need to check. Okay, shh. If I rotate this 90 degrees, what point is this point at right here?
-2, 3.
Okay, -2, 3. If I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees, what's my rule for a 90-degree rotation? -yx. Okay, so what's my y now going to be? Okay, so it's going to be -3, and then my x was what? So my new point is going to be -3, -2. So if I go -3, -2, okay? If you did that to every point, you would get your turn 90 degrees. Now, let's look. Okay, do you see how this is the bottom of this shape? Where should it end up after a 90-degree turn? So 90-degree turn goes this way, right? So it's going to end up on this side. Okay, so if I go down 3 units and to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did it end up on the side we thought it was going to? Did it rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise? Yes, okay. So I would probably say letter T. You have to look at it, okay? Anytime you're rotating, look at your shape. If I rotated 90 degrees, okay, flip it backwards. So now don't go counterclockwise, go clockwise. Work backwards. Rotate this 90 degrees clockwise. Okay? The little piece should be at the top. Questions on that one? I know it's hard for some of us to see. Are there any questions?
No.
All right. Last one, figure ABCD has vertices A, 1, 1, B, 1, 4, C, 4, 4, and D, 4, 1. What are the coordinates and vertices of figure A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime? After a reflection across the line, x equals -2, and a translation of 3 units up. Okay? What happens when I reflect across a line?
They're opposites.
Okay? What happens when I reflect across the line? What do I do? Explain to me what I do to reflect a line. I'm flipping it, okay? But how do I reflect a point across a line? Explain to me what you would do if you had a graph.
You have to
Count the distance to the line, right? Okay, if my line is x equals -2, is that vertical or horizontal? It's a vertical line, would you agree? Okay? So if I were to draw myself a little diagram here, x equals -2 would be to the left 2. That'd be this vertical line, right?
Yes.
Okay? From here, if my point was at 1, 1, which quadrant is it in?
1, 1. It would be in
One.
the first.
This first one, right? I'd go positive 1, 1. How far away is this positive 1 on the x-axis going to be away from -2?
3.
1, 2, 3. So how far past it do I have to go?
3.
1, 2, 3. So if I start at -2 and went past it 3, what's my x value going to be?
-5. No. Wait, no.
Yep. -5, right? My x value is going to be -5. Okay? What is my y value going to be? Does my y value change?
What?
If I reflect across a vertical line, does my y value change?
No.
No, so it stays the same.
That's really confusing.
Then the
That's really not.
Okay, maybe it'd be less confusing if we'd stop talking. Okay? On this one, if my point is at 1, 4, I'm at 1 across the x-axis. I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? If I reflect across this line, x equals -2, is my y value going to change? No, my y value doesn't. So I can copy down my y value. Okay? How far do I have to go if I start at 1 on the x-axis and I want to go to -2? How far away is that? Okay, on the x-axis, I'm at 1, correct?
yes.
If I want to go all the way to -2, how far away is that?
3.
3, I have to go from 1 to 0, 1 to -1, 1 to -2. That's 3. Okay? How far, if I go past it, 3 would I be?
3.
So -2 plus 3 would be -5, right?
Yes.
Add 3 spaces, so it's going to be -5, 4. Questions on how I got that so far? Okay? 4, 4. Is my y value going to change? So if I reflect across this line, does my y value ever change?
No.
No, only my x values are changing. I'm only moving the direction left and right I'm going, right? Okay, so what about in D? Is my y value going to change?
Yeah, no.
No, my y value does not change. Only my x values are changing. Okay, so if I start at 4 over on the x-axis, and I want to make my way over to -2, how far do I have to go?
6.
Okay, I have to go back to 0, 4, right? Then I have another 2 jumps, so that's a total of 6 jumps. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, if I start at 4, I go 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. That's 6 jumps. Okay, I have to go 6 past that. If I start at -2 and I add another 6 over here, what do I get?
6, -2, -8.
-8. Okay, how far away is 4, 1? So if I look at 4, okay, and I want to go to -2, how far of a jump is that?
6.
Again, to go from 4 to 0, that's 4 units, right?
Yes.
Then I have to add 2 more. That's 6 total units. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
How far is 6 units past that -2?
-8.
-8. Okay? After I reflect, okay, my A is now -5, 1. My B is -5, 4. C is -8, -4, or sorry, -8, 4. And D is going to be -8, 1. Okay? The only thing that changed from my original ABCD to my new ABCD was the x values. The y values stay the exact same. So this was after my rotation. Or sorry, reflection, not rotation, reflection. So I reflected, I got these points. Then what do I have to do? Okay, I reflected over the line x equals -2. What do I do next?
Down 3. 3 units up.
Okay, 3 units up. So which one is that? Reflection, rotation, translation.
Translation.
Translation. If I go 3 units up, guys, if I go 3 units up, which variable is that affecting?
Y.
Only my y. What is it doing if it's 3 units up?
It's adding.
It's adding. Okay, what if it would have been 3 units down? What would it have been doing?
Subtracting.
Subtracting. Okay, so from here, if I want my a prime 3 units up, I have to add 3 to my y value. What's my new a prime going to be then?
4.
Okay, so it's going to be -5,
4.
4. Again, if I go 3 units up, it's only affecting which variable?
Y.
The y. So I'm going to look at the y and I'm going to add 3. 4 plus 3 is
7.
7. So b prime is going to be -5, 7.
That's big math.
What about C?
Negative 5, 7.
C.
C, negative 8, 7.
Negative 8, 7. D prime.
Negative 8, 4.
This would be my final. A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime.
Is that going to be on the test, like an example like that?
Could be.
Why can't you just tell them? It isn't what you.
Okay.
I really
Questions? Okay. Any questions? Okay. What I need you to do, okay, please take out that quiz I had you put away. I will give it back to you, but I forgot I need to enter those differently. Okay? I have not entered those differently. I need to enter those differently, please.